coming up next.
Yeah, like to me, when I say God only knows when the devil comes for you, like this is hard for a lot of folks when I bring this up, is that devil's inside of all of us. And it's when we don't tell the truth that that devil gets bigger. So depending on your faith practices, like the God-sized hole that I believe we all have inside of us gets bigger and bigger the more lies we tell. And all of a sudden, then everything just passing through us, and you're just telling yourself another lie.
Welcome to Faith Over Addiction podcast, where the chains of fixing and striving are broken and joy is rediscovered in Christ. You are here because you know there's more for you, a life beyond addiction's chaos, rooted in God's peace and promises. This is the place where Christian women like you learn to release the weight of fixing and striving and instead lean into God's strength to create a home filled with love, grace, and hope. She is clothed with strength and dignity. Proverbs 31:25. That's you. You may not feel like it yet, but you are stronger than you know. And God has so much more for you than carrying someone else's addiction. Here, we'll uncover how to set healthy boundaries with love and a little humor. Find resilience and grace in the messy moments of life. Celebrate small victories and embrace joy like never before. Lean into God's promises for restoration and strength because He's not done with your story or your loved ones. This is your invitation to rise up, embrace your worth in God's kingdom, and take back what's been stolen by addiction, your peace, your joy, your future. Your faith is the foundation, and your boundaries are the bridge, and God's truth is your guide. I'm Tanya Gioia, your host and fellow traveler on this journey through the chaos of addiction. I'm here to cheer you on, equip you with tools that work, and share the truth that's changed my life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Together, we'll uncover how to create safe, loving space for healing, starting with your own heart and home. By setting boundaries, trusting God's plan, and embracing His truth, you can reclaim your joy, your peace, and your family's future. Then you will be able to stand firm for your family and legacy as a kingdom daughter. A woman who can laugh at the days to come, knowing her identity is secure in Christ. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and get comfortable. Let's walk this journey together. We're about to take back what's been stolen, create a safe, healing space for you and your family, and rediscover the joy God has waiting for you. Welcome back to the Faith Over Addiction podcast. I'm Tanya Gioia, and I am joined by Ryan Reichert, who is a career military. As he began to change, he also worked for Fortune 500s, but really what his life is about is God leading him and making lasting impact. He's a Christian author and motivational speaker. And Ryan, we were just having a great conversation about fear. I'm going to let you jump in and start right there. You certainly have seen your share of it with your career steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Tanya, for having me on this morning. It's just a beautiful day here in Minnesota. And yeah, fear is a debilitator. I think about 23 years in the Army. I was an airborne ranger, thought I was super cool until I wasn't. And Fortune 500 America showed me that God had a different plan. And yeah, today, hot off the presses last month, God only knows when the devil comes for you. Second chance at life is what he wrote it. To me, I was just the vessel that it came through. I take no real credit for it. Back when we started writing it together last December, and it's one of those where I look at it today. We kind of had that conversation early on, the discipleship of what can happen in our lives, and I think of how successful or not successful my military career was. I had said I wanted to be a full bird colonel. I retired as a lieutenant colonel, so one underneath that. So in my mind, maybe previous generational curses where if you don't meet the mark, you're a complete failure. So literally, overwritten 23 years of, an amazing career and a lot of accolades and so forth because I didn't reach that bar that I thought, I had set for myself 24 years earlier, I think, before I actually raised my right hand. And that was all established off of, we had family friends that were, full bird colonels in the Vietnam era and so forth. And it was one where, it's like whatever your surroundings are, you kind of associate yourself with that. And today I understand that if you associate yourself with someone who suffers from, drugs, alcohol, pornography, you name it. If you're hanging out with the kids from the wrong side of the tracks, you're going to be just like them. And I found myself in that post, military career. I certainly had a drinking problem. Going all the way back to, I think I was 12 when I had my first drink. So it was about a 33-year career. And I laugh at that today because I'm a small group leader for the sixth graders at Eagle Brook Church here in Minneapolis. And that's the same age. And these little guys, these little men, they don't talk about, even girls. Like it's one where I'm so impressed with these little men today as, we form, little disciples and inside of them. And they teach me just as much as I teach them in my new walk of faith today. And it's only by the grace of God. Yesterday was actually my 19-month birthday of being reborn, and in sobriety, it's just a blessing to see it today. But I think really getting back to fear, it's the truth. It's like the living truth. If we're not able to tell the truth, we'll always live in fear, and that was for me. My dad's a recovering alcoholic. He's got a little over 40 years of sobriety, and I was always afraid of him as a kid. He had such a stern voice, and so forth. And when you even just hear him talk to you, he wasn't yelling at you. It was just he was talking to you. It just held such a powerful, kind of aura over things. And it took me many, many years. I say I didn't finally become a man until I was 45. And I think that was when I could finally tell the truth in everything I did. And that, and kind of work in my program and, that brutal honesty that it takes to shed all those fears, failure, whatever it looks like, and just know that whatever today is the best that it's going to be, and you can always make it better, but it's like, this is where we're at. This is the truth. And then that's where I kind of shed a lot of my fears. I still have some, but it's shed a lot of them.
Well, Ryan, talk to us. You've had a highly successful military career. You walked into corporate, highly successful. Sounds like you had parents who cared about you. There's so many moms listening going, what was going on at 12 that you went, let's take this drink?
Yeah, this is where, things I think back to, I think I was 6 when my dad sobered up. And I remember being, between my parents. I don't know if this was before he sobered up or after, but I remember it was, outside their bedroom. We had like a stairwell that went down, and I was between the two of them, and he was really, giving my mom the verbal business, of just, whatever it was, can't remember specifically, but I remember saying, you do not talk to her that way, and shaking my, little 6-year-old hand or whatever at him. And, I think my entire life then was shaped by wanting to be the knight in shining armor, like Jesus Christ riding in on, the white horse kind of thing that we all, think of in Revelations. And so when I look at that, it was always wanting to toe the line. I stuck up for all my friends that were bullied in school, and I got beat up a lot for, always being, I think of the company that, we built today, our Protector, legendary leadership companies, which spans more than, just writing, with media, with the podcast that have Our Healer, Our Protector, with a friend who's a nurse of 25 years. And it's one of those things where just the pain and the agony. I think it was just generational curses just piled on and going, like, little Ryan, you're the chosen one and you're going to have to carry this. And you won't realize it until, yeah, you're 45, that it's your duty to shepherd the Reichert Zimny pain and trauma that's gone on for forever. And it's today I understand that. I get why I had to carry that much weight when I was younger and so forth. And yeah, where I went was, it was Jack Daniels and Diet Coke, my first drink, and disgusting. I still, haven't had a drink in 19 months in one day. And it's, I can still smell Jack Daniels, like not even having to be near it. It's one that has stayed with me forever. And yeah, I was hanging out with like the wrong folks at the time, and to think that circle, we're all sober today. It's pretty amazing to think of the few guys that, 30 whatever years ago now, I had a couple more. That North Dakota education sometimes, sorry, Mom. My mom was a teacher for 40 odd years, but she was a reading teacher. And so obviously all that paid off as, she helps me with my writing today. She's actually like the first editor, chief editor, part of our Protector development. And it's kind of fun to see that you get to still have that relationship with your mother, who is, she's so amazing.
Walk
That's
us
what
through,
yeah.
you're talking about generational curses. Sometimes that's hard to understand. Walk us through your understanding of generational curses and this burden that you carried, but Christ carried too.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, kind of my interpretation of a generational curse is where, I look at it a couple different ways. Like, my dad's an alcoholic, so I'm an alcoholic. His dad was probably an alcoholic. I know all three of us, suffer from PTSD. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. My grandfather, both grandfathers actually were World War II veterans, and carrying that pain inside of us, I think, exemplifies the wrongdoings, right? It's like, oh, he has PTSD. That's why he's, not an a-hole, kind of thing. And it's like, no, that doesn't make it okay. And then, when you look at it from Christ's side of it, is the grace and the mercy of forgiveness. And also, though, one of us in the family, you might hear it as black sheep or, whatever, the outcast, where you're the one that is going to carry all that weight until you no longer are afraid. I kind of talk about it in the book of, maybe you've seen Home Alone, or,
Absolutely. Favorite Christmas movie. Every
those
Christmas.
listening. Yeah. But you remember little Kevin McCallister, he, Marv and Harry, the two evil guys that are trying to break in the house. And he's like, he gets, he thwarts them one time. And he's like, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm literally not afraid anymore. And I had so many fears. I was afraid of the dark. Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. Babysitter let me watch it when I was 5 or 6 years old.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I think of that for those listening, like things that we can control, like even for yourself as an adult, don't watch scary movies. Like, don't listen to the news if you can't handle it,
Right.
and just, keep yourself out of things that you can control. Because to me, I even tried it the other night. I was like, you know what? It flashed like the new Nightmare on Elm Street, whenever that came out. And I was like, I'm strong enough. I'm tough enough. I'm going to watch it now. And I really believe in all this today, where it wouldn't load on the Netflix or Prime. It would just spool.
Right.
And I think that's divine protection, going like, you're not ready. You'll never be ready, because you're not supposed to watch something like that. You can control this. Stop the madness. And I think that goes for so much of it. I watched my father, always not be able to break that curse with his father, and really give his father inventory for how he treated him. And for me, I saw Grandpa Reich as this like extremely successful businessman who, started the family business, but also like banker, superintendent. He was, in the Navy, for a number of years in World War II, all these things. And we all have flaws. We all have faults, and one where it's like, just to heal my dad's wounds and what he went through as a child and then adult, and all the doubts that we put in ourselves from what our parents tell us. We're not smart enough, we're not good looking enough. Shoot, the other day, even my dad and I are talking, and he's just joking, but he's like, you look like you've had, put a few pounds on, kind of thing, a little doughy there
Oh,
in the middle. And I was like, man, it still hurts, but it's a him
sure.
problem, not a me problem. Like, I can control how I take that. Like, he obviously is saying it because he sees himself probably a little overweight, a little doughy, and so forth. And I love him. He's my dad. I only have one, in the flesh. I have, my father, God,
Right.
Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit that, are able to be from that side of the fence. But, in the physical, fleshy human form, I only have one.
Well,
And
so yes, that hurts. And giving people grace, he probably didn't mean it to land that way. And in a way, he probably said it out of love of, dude, lay off whatever you've been
yeah,
eating to do
oh,
this.
always.
But what was it that brought you into we're talking about Kevin McCallister when he says, no, I don't have any more fear. What did the Holy Spirit do for you that brought you into this no fear state?
Yeah, I think it was, finally when I committed all of the seven deadly sins, finally, it's kind of like the Bugs Bunny where it's like, hey, Ryan, I think you made a wrong turn at Albuquerque, where, the good Lord's like looking and he's like, oh man, like I can't stand seeing him have to go through all this pain and being sick and tired of being sick and tired. But man, when this day comes around and he does this, it's going to be so cool to see. And it basically was, about 17 months after I retired from the Army. I'd gained 50 pounds. I was drinking every day, knowing that marijuana was legal and THC, this, that, the other. I was certainly,
Yeah.
doing all that. And I didn't have any accountability anymore. I didn't have a team that I had to lead, into combat. I didn't have a team that I needed to prepare, to, sweat more here and bleed less there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, corporate America, nothing against it or, being a civilian. Um, but it just wasn't it wasn't hard. It wasn't a challenge. It didn't give me any form of, it didn't fill the God-sized hole that I had in me. Yeah, I got paid a lot of money. That was cool, but it didn't fill what I thought it would. That was the last thing I was looking for, was like in the military from day one to day, 23 years later, I knew exactly what I was going to get paid. Like in corporate, it was like, hey, we have a good year. You're going to get big checks come the spring. And, what are you going to do with like, it's the same as like 6 months in the military. You get a check in March. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. And I'm not proud of any of this, but, I would go with a bunch of buddies to Vegas and we'd go to NASCAR every spring. And we go to, some of us would go to the strip club. Not all of us. The guys that had it already figured out wouldn't, but, some of us hadn't figured it all out yet. And, so yeah, I went to the strip club and, certainly at this time I was still married. And, all of that sin, finally caught up with me. And, God's like, hey, it's okay, because like you're going to go through a real adventure and all those fears that we just talked about are going to come out. And for every day moving forward, you're going to have to tell the brutal, honest truth. But the coolest thing is about it is you're going to feel better than you've ever felt. You're going to, literally be able to help and heal so many people, that people you've never even met, like will be healed by, like I said, the podcast, the book, when I've been on stages, just finished the Coeur d'Alene Summit here a few weeks
Woo-hoo.
back. And to think, like 400 people, maybe only met 10 of them in person. And the impact you have just seeing, like your vulnerability, your brutal honesty, really allowed me to, heal in that moment. And it's like, what, 10 minutes maybe of talking, and you're like, wow. And so, yeah, that's what it became. It was just this having to tell the truth in everything that was going on in my life.
But
Unfortunately.
get real deep with us, Ryan. You were
Yeah.
highly successful. You're making money. You're not having any problems in that area. yet things are breaking down. What totally dropped you so that you had to tell the truth? Where did God get you? God only knows when the devil comes for you is the title of your book. Where did you really get shaken?
Uh,
What did
it
it
was,
take?
it was, uh, my greatest fear, I think, was becoming my dad, like completely, right? And him and my mom have been divorced for, I don't know, call it 22, 23 years, whatever it's been, really doesn't matter. And so what I believed, my ex-wife today, Michelle, was that facet of it where, your soulmate, like it's just failure. I think my greatest fear in life always was failure, whatever that looked like. If it was failure in the marriage, failure in a job, failure on a PT test, failure that, my waist is a 32, but it looks like a 33 today. Like gray hair coming in here, just all these things, like anything, I was always just, trying to remember, that like, hey, where's my other blue pen? All these things. I just was always trying to be perfect. It was the perfection that I believed I saw or was placed upon me, and I was no longer perfect. And I had to actually tell the truth, like that. I'm only, 6 foot X, and I always said I was 6 foot one. I'm
Mm-hmm.
195 pounds, but I always say I'm 190 pounds. Like all that's a lie. Every single thing is a lie there. And, you know, why did I have to continue to lie? Because I didn't want to hurt anybody with the truth, I guess. And really what I was doing was hurting myself. So yeah, like to me, when I say God only knows when the devil comes for you, like this is hard for a lot of folks when I bring this up, is that devil's inside of all of us. And it's
Mm.
when we don't tell the truth that devil gets bigger. So depending on your faith practices, like the God-sized hole that I believe we all have inside of us gets bigger and bigger the more lies we tell. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, then everything just passing through us, and you're just telling yourself another lie. It's just like before, like 35 minutes ago, I didn't want. I was like, man, I just want to lay on the couch and do nothing today. I just came off of a trip on the West Coast, putting together an online course that's basically book one and book two. So when book two comes out, the online course will launch as well, and so forth here in probably a couple months. And I'm like, it was a busy week. My eyeballs are falling out of my head from staring at a screen with the scripts. And I'm like, really be terrible, but like I could cancel on Tanya last minute, kind of thing. I go back to my old ways, make up some lie, I don't feel good,
Right.
kind of thing. And I knew though that like by facing a fear, maybe it was a fear of, knowing that on the other side of this, like there's a lot of women listening to a man who, at the end of the day, like I've committed every seven deadly sin. I committed adultery at the end of the day. That like that true truth came out in, the final stages of setting myself free. And then the Lord said, you won't have to worry about your sobriety anymore because you've like literally faced every single thing that you're afraid of.
Oh, let
And
me slow you down right there. So was that confession? Was that so in the fourth and fifth step, we write down all our wrongs and then we confess them to somebody. What was the freedom? When did that show up?
that showed up like actually before I took my last drink. It was 2 days before my last drink when it came out. I was talking to, so I went on Match.com and started talking to other women, and yeah, it was no proud moment today when I think about it because I have two daughters, and it's one of those where you think about say their significant other down the road and having to go through this, and Yeah, I was on the phone talking to one of the gals walking the dogs, and Michelle ended up opening the garage door, and it's like, "Who are you talking to?" And in that moment, it was like this, like where it's like I could lie, I could easily lie, and be like other people I know, and keep walking in this darkness that I was living in. But for some reason, right there in that moment, I told her I was talking to another woman, and hung up, and we started talking. And unfortunately, my youngest daughter could hear the crying, and maybe probably her yelling at me, and she had to be there for it. It was terrible when I reflect on it. And as time and space goes on, all the different times of friends that had to hear about it, if it was that night or the next day. And yeah, I wasn't done though with my psychoses in it all, like where it ends up like playing out to the day that I stopped drinking was like, go have a drink, play some, indoor virtual golf with my buddies, and which turned into an all day, drunk fest. And coming home to the family, and didn't realize it at the time, but one of the girls' boyfriends was there, and his father suffers from alcoholism as well. And Michelle didn't let me in the house. I didn't know that this young man was there, and that's the reason why she didn't want him to see me drunk. And so what did I do? I ran, kind of thing. And from there, the rest, unfortunately, is history. And, I committed adultery. I'd already committed adultery from looking at other women, going to strip clubs and so forth in our marriage. I'd broken our covenant before that day that had happened. But in all that, then moving forward every single day, unfortunately, if any of them asked a question, even the girls at, the ages they would have been, 16, 18 years old, I told them what had happened. And the unfortunate thing is when you've told so many lies, no one really believes you moving forward, right? Like, it's like, okay, is he saying it? But I'm like, the way I look at it is, like, I was watching, I think it was called The Second Juror last night, and it's this guy who's a recovering alcoholic, and he hits somebody, and it's this dilemma of like, do you tell the truth and lose your life, or not lie, and keep your life, or tell the truth and lose your life? And I believe today, knowing that the devil will come for you if you lie, like just tell the truth because the greatest good will come from it. So now I know, like, every time I tell the truth, like the best possible outcome comes out of it. And you're like, well, you got divorced. Yeah, but maybe that was always meant to happen, kind of thing. And there's greater, better. I have a significant other in my life today, not to compare apples to oranges, but it's one of those, like, it's better because like I'm honest in everything that I do now, because I know that having a partner that you can be honest with, like if they're not wanting you to be in their life, they won't be in your life, like, because God will protect you from them sooner or later. You might have to go through a lot of pain and suffering, and vice versa, either or. Knowing that I'm talking to more women than men right now, that it's hard. Like it's really hard to look in the mirror and tell the truth and be brutally honest with ourselves.
How did God hold you, knowing that we can be convicted, but not condemned? As believers, we are no longer condemned. All of this is falling apart at once, but you're coming into the light. As dark as it is, you're coming into the light. How did God hold you through that process?
Yeah, it was really cool. I think about it. My home group, call them the God Squad, but yeah, it was the closest AA meeting. So Monday, the 27th of November, 2023, went there, 6:30 meeting. To me, I remember it seeming like this dark and dreary and smoke-filled room, which it totally wasn't. But our minds and that coming out of the fog, sat in the back, while everybody else sat around the main table, and I just listened. 2 ears and one mouth. I'll always tell that to anybody is, like, just listen. And I sat there, and they we did a first step meeting because, they're like, hey, is this anyone's, first meeting since their last drink? And I'm like, yeah, me, hey. And it was pretty cool because at the end of it, they're like, hey, we challenge you to come back next week. And I'm like, man, don't challenge me, like I will make you pay, not like in this situation, whatever, but in a previous life. And so it's really funny. I just started going to a meeting every single day. Somebody I worked with, he's actually my little brother today. God gave me a little brother I didn't even know. But we had worked together, and he's like, hey, yeah, I'm in the program. Let's go to a meeting. So that was like Tuesday. Found another one Wednesday, and literally, yeah, I did 90 and 90. So I did 90 meetings in 90 days. And I'm old school, so I really like in person. Towards the end, I might have hopped on a few Zooms, where I still had the Fortune 500 job, and I lived in the big house, as I call it. One that kind of felt like a prison, probably in my using years, and it was a really big house too. It was the post-retirement house that had a pool and all the grandiosity of living in that world of imagination and disillusion, and it was interesting. So I moved into a little one-bedroom apartment. So that still, in my mind, here still seems very dark and dreary. First, probably 30 days of being sober. It was right after Christmas. We were supposed to go on a family Christmas trip to New York with some friends, and I was asked not to come. And
Ouch.
totally get that, though. I mean, but at the same time, when I think of who we were going with, if we're really followers of Jesus Christ and having that ability to forgive others, yeah, I'm sorry, still not seeing it with some folks there on that one, but it's all good. We all have our own programs. We all have our own faith practices, and we have our own opinion of whatever life is. I just know the brutal truth will set us all free. And so, yeah, I started just walking in the light with His mercy, and every day it got better. I mean, you can't see her because she's sleeping, but I have a 3-year-old golden doodle who was my youngest daughter's dog. And yeah, Maze, who saved my life, like having to get up every morning and afternoon and evening to feed her, walk her, somebody to talk to. Yeah, still got me out of bed this morning when I probably didn't want to get out of bed. And
They're great for that, aren't they?
they are.
What?
And it's the thing of it is, I guess, like, what I want to tell everybody listening is that, like, you're going to have tough days. And sometimes, like, now I look at tough days where it's always protection to me, like where it's either slowing you down, to get everything situated. When I look at where life's at today and, writing books and like how fast you get the next one out, or, like advertising and promoting the first one while you still have like your coaching on this side of the fence, you're speaking on this side of the, all these different things that you're doing, and you kind of have a day like today where you just don't feel it. Maybe it is Him just like protecting you. Sleep's good for us, rest is good for us. Don't think of it. I always thought sleep was like, I'm depressed because my dad's depressions after, with his PTSD and so forth, like I was like, man, am I depressed right now? I want to sleep all day. And it's like, well, no, if you're running and gunning that much, you might need the rest to recover a bit. And so, yeah, it just, last July, I lost my Fortune 500 job, downsizing. The company downsized 10% last July. And where I was at in my, sobriety journey, my soon to be full on divorce journey, as we were separated, but going through the whole piece there. Yeah, I was laid off, and it was amazing because I was at such a place where I could see that it was like divine protection once again in it all. And it was just,
I want you to say that again very clearly. You said it in the divorce too. We can't see completely what's happening.
if I
But
was to
the
ever
layoff
tell
was
you,
a gift too. I mean, I'm looking, I have a sign that says, in everything give thanks, 1 Thessalonians 5:18. I'm not great at memory. That's where we're called to give thanks for the things that we perceive killing us, right?
yeah, no, I'll hit you up right here because this is my favorite. Bible verse, and it's chapter 1 here of God only knows when the devil comes for you, a second chance at life. And it's one's connection with God. It's Isaiah 40:31. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. And it's only, it's really funny when I think of, like, you probably can't see the bottom here, but our Protector Development is like, the company that came out of, our Protector Legendary Leadership companies. And it's OPD. So in the Army, OPD stood for Officer Professional Development. And I laugh now as our Protector Development. He was always protecting me, but protecting everybody else too, and realizing that, at first he'll protect you, just sheer protection, So I think of that. The divorce was like Michelle and I today have found, I believe, probably who, we could have been if we could have really just been brutally honest with each other and healed each other while he protected us and so forth, with who she has in her life and who I have in my life. And trust me, it's taken me a long time to say that, and
Yes. Yes.
really realize that I wasn't the right person for her, and I really struggled with that, right? Because it's like we were together like 25 years, like wow, and at almost 47 today, I'm like, I was just reborn 19 months ago. So like, even though I'm a full grown adult, like I'm only 19 months old. It's, kind of thing. I should just be learning how to walk, without
Yeah,
mom and dad's help.
absolutely.
And that's where I realized in every single thing that happened, now moving forward, I can see that you get a flat tire, like that's halting you from a massive accident, down the freeway. You get laid off from work, or you even get fired, well, sometimes being fired, it might say your ego because something happened, that you,
But it's still a
but,
learning experience, right?
but,
Still a
but
learning experience.
it is still protection from something. And it will always create, like I feared, so my dad was an entrepreneur, I was like, I don't want that. Like, there's no glory in that. Like the way people treated him, him and his dad, it was Reichert's Insurance. It was an independent insurance agency, small town, North Dakota. I was like, I do not want that. And today I'm like, I drive around in a big truck or whatever that's got it plastered on the side of it, kind of thing. And it's like, if you're doing it, I'm not doing it for myself. Like I'm doing it for him. And that's where everything then comes full circle with it all. And I don't know where that truly landed. I mean, I grew up Catholic, and all I could think of was the rules, the rules, the rules, the rules.
Right.
And then I married into Lutheranism, and I was like, cool, Catholic light, less rules. And when I was rebaptized this spring, I laugh at this because my dad's like, "What church do you go to?" And I'm like, "Eagle Brook." I'm like, "It's non-denominational." Like, he's like, "No, no, no, no. It's got to be. It came from somewhere, kind of thing." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I'll look up the history." And it's like, that was Baptist, and I'm like, "It doesn't
Yes.
matter. Like, I follow Jesus Christ today. Like,
So instead of Catholic or Catholic light, it's love, which is
yes,
what God has offered to us all along. It's love.
absolutely." But in the
Let me,
teachings, I didn't see that. I didn't see that love or mercy or grace in, growing up the way I did. It just wasn't part of it. It was a damning, punishing, so on and so forth, God. And today I truly see all of it is for my mercy, and his love through the grace of forgiveness and understanding that some people may never forgive you for what you've done to them, and all I can do is forgive them, and pray for them. That's one of the things in my spiritual rituals that I teach is you have to actually pray for three people you don't adore. It's an everyday thing. And
pray
I
for
tell
three
you,
people who are really rubbing you the wrong way,
yeah.
right?
And I love it though, because once you can do that, like you can see it, the light bulb turns on, and all my clients out there, and friends that use it as well. Like they're like, man, you wouldn't believe I started doing what you said from your spiritual. It is so profound. And I'm like, yeah, trust me, it took me a lot of months to get there, a lot of months. And
So
when it
tell
started
us,
happening, you're blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about what people are going to find in the book, your
Yeah.
coaching, your business, because
Right.
man, you have walked through the fire, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Jesus
Yeah.
stood right next to you the whole time.
Absolutely. I always just go right out of the table of contents for the book just because it's an easy read. I always joke, like I said, North Dakota Public Education. If I can read a book, let alone write a book, anybody can do all the same. Like we're all, we all have certain blessings. But it just walks through, you have one connection with God, how it started off, what mine looked like, my newfound faith journey. The Power of Pain takes you through, that initial shock and awe of what we talked about with sobering up, separation, divorce, and
Job
so forth.
loss. You did the big three:
Yep, we did them
sobering
all.
up, job loss, and divorce all at once. Plus, we didn't even talk about your daughters, because
Yeah,
every time a house splits, the innocent get harmed by it.
yes, they do. It's that's the one that every day I pray for them, but I pray for myself. Forgive myself for the damaging of children. We're all God's children, but when you see your little baby girls hurt, it's tough. Yeah,
Well,
pull
but
from
let's
the.
bring
Go
that full
ahead.
circle.
Okay.
Now you're the man that they need. Now
Yo,
you're the man that can teach them how to find a man like you.
this is so special. So it's really amazing to see. Um, my oldest has come back into my life, 50-50. She's soon to be a sophomore in college. Super proud of her. And then the younger one, baby Boo, she's a senior now in high school. And to see both these girls, like we're kind of estranged, get to see her once a quarter when there's a choir concert or something, but she doesn't want to have contact with me, which is okay. I forgive her for and understand that where she's at in life. And, maybe that she feels that, the family wasn't enough and so forth. But what I'm getting at is like by walking my journey today, how I do, like both those girls go to church together, they go to Bible study together. One dates a young man who walks in that light, kind of thing.
Amen.
Um, they bring their mother to church with them,
Yeah.
and to me, it's not like, hey, you should do this, you should have to do. I'm like, I'm just doing it, and it's like they're following. And so, like to see that. I don't, my wants of spending time with them and stuff like that, it doesn't matter because I know they're good. And yeah,
That's laying down your life like nobody can.
yes.
Nobody
Yeah.
else can do that but you.
Yep. Yep.
That's amazing, Ryan.
So,
Really amazing.
yep. Yeah, it's wild, it's crazy, but it's pretty special too to think that when you can finally look in the mirror and face those fears and not be afraid anymore. Like it's hard. My oldest gave me some inventory. She saw me speak last month, and she was like, you didn't tell the whole story, kind of thing. And I'm like, I had 8 minutes. I can only tell so much of it. It was like 45 years in the making. There's a lot there. You just got to stay tuned and keep following because more and more stories come out. I mean, I got 4 years in the Middle East of, unfortunately doing bad things to bad people because of where I was at. I hold a lot of that inside. I have a lot of survivor's guilt from all my buddies that I've lost either downrange or due to suicide. We're still in June. So for those who don't know, it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's also PTSD Awareness Month. So those are two things to me that are very near and dear to my heart, knowing where my dad and grandfathers come from, them serving. There's only two souls that have laid down their lives for our freedom, kind of thing. And, one's the big JC and the others are those soldiers, sailors, and airmen out there that have been doing it for 250 plus years now. And yeah, that's a big cause for me. Bravo Zulu House is the first all sober, all veteran house, and it's actually here in Minnesota, about 2 hours south of Minneapolis and Winnebago. And they'll take their first guys here in a couple. Well, let's see. Actually, no, I think this week starting here. So super special to see that, knowing that God blessed me to get off the streets on my own, and, out of the ditch. But that doesn't mean that there aren't others out there that need, that as well. And so for women, the first all women sober house, I don't think it'll be called Bravo Zulu. They're coming up with a name, but we should break ground this fall. And so super excited, all women's, all veteran sober house. And
Yes.
the team of folks that I do a lot of work with, our push is to get one in every state. I'm sad to say that the first one finally this year opens, kind of thing, and it's like we can do it. Let's go get another 98 to go. So
That's right.
men and women's, all sober, all veteran homes, and just know that that's the thing for me. You think, you serve and so forth. But I still was kind of ashamed of when you say you have to do certain things in life for, my profession. But there's some shame in that, as well. And it's taken a long time for me to understand that it was just part of the story. It's not who I am today. And, we got to forgive ourselves first. And so knowing for everybody listening out there, it takes time to forgive ourselves. I mean, I was probably, when we think about, working the steps, and making amends, for me to finally make amends with myself and go you're a real SOB, or were, I guess. But you got to forgive yourself, Ryan, because you can't carry all that weight, all the generational curses that have been in your rucksack that you've been carrying. You got to start forgiving yourself and taking them out, talking to people, letting them go. And, some people aren't supposed to be in your life. That's as simple as it is. It's just, and hopefully you can mend and have a amicable relationship. But some people you won't. You just have to realize that you got to let them go. And that's just.
And we've come full circle back to your honesty, because what does the AA Big Book say? Those who are unable to be honest with themselves are the ones who don't make it out.
Yeah.
And you've been honest with yourself.
It's the truth. And you've given me this great platform to do it on. So, I mean, I couldn't be more blessed and thankful towards you, Tanya, knowing that it takes a village. It takes
Absolutely.
all of us to have, your platform, for me today, it's the conviction to have, Our Healer, Our Protector, the podcast that I co-host on is, breaking those generational curses. Lisa Sander, who I share that stage with, a nurse of 25 years and, divorced as well. The struggle that we have with our children, as you go through that process. And, one parent, is looked at as the hero, and one can be looked at as the zero. And how do we carry that forward, though, to help others and, be strong enough to give everybody else a voice? And like I said, so thank you so much for allowing me to have a voice here.
Oh, you are more than welcome. And the hero zero, I want to dispel that myth. I worked in divorce court as well. Nobody's a hero and nobody's a zero in a family when it breaks down. It is, I think it really breaks God's heart, even though it is sometimes the best thing for everybody. It is the growth experience. It is the learning. It is the change. And if we choose to go after his presence, not his present, not his hand, but we seek him, the whole family can heal. And maybe it took the divorce or the separation to heal. If you've ever prayed the whatever it takes prayer, that's probably the scariest prayer there is. Ryan, tell us where the podcast is, where the book's going to come out, where your program is, who your program is for is also a big thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 1001%. Ryan T. Reichert. You can find me on any social media platform. So I know with where I'm at in life and age wise, it seems like Facebook is where I find my greatest following, as 50 is certainly closer than 40. And ourprotectordevelopment.com for any of our services, do C-suite leadership. the avatar of avatars is probably, 30 to 60-year-old men that have faced some form of trauma in their life. Can look like, abuse, verbal, physical, emotional, and so forth. Failure, if you believe you've failed in life, we can get you back on riding a bike again. And, those who suffer from any form of addiction, like I said, I've had it all. I've gained weight. I've abused any form of drugs or alcohol. The sexual side of things. But it's amazing. Just a little fun fact here, as I think it's in book 2 that will come out later. But talking about the different percentages, if you read your Bible 4 or more times a week, basically, if you're addicted to porn, it'll reduce that down to 40%. So it takes away 60% of it. I want to say with drugs and alcohol, it's in the 40 percentile that'll help you with there. And one thing I do love, and I call it the real 1% here, is relationships, especially marriages. If you place God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit number 1 in your marriage or your relationship, you read the Bible together and pray 4 more times a week, you have a 1% shot of divorce there. So I would say that's the real 1%ers out there, not the ones making gajillions of dollars or joining services. And you can get God Only Knows When the Devil Comes for You, A Second Chance at Life, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Someone said even Walmart.com, which is super cool. That I don't know. I'm a big used book kind of guy. There's still those brick and mortars out there that sell used books. Granted, you're probably not going to find this guy because it's only been out for 3 weeks or so. And last but not least, knowing that we have a lot of women listening, is Lisa Sander, RN, LL here. She lisasander.com, because it's one that she calls it the therapy chair. I've seen it in the hospital, but doctors, nurses, you name it, the janitorial staff, they use it. And I always give her a hard time that it's like you can't charge enough kind of thing to save someone's life. We're not talking about money here. It's just you being brutally honest in the moment, to know that the angels that are out there to save us. Just keep these two ears and one mouth. So keep these things open. This thing shut, you catch a lot more whatever the flies with honey kind of thing, or whatever the saying is. Like, right. It's Tanya, thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing. The day's only getting started, and it's definitely getting better each second. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, Ryan. We really appreciate it. We will have all the links down below. You have dropped some jewels for us about reading your Bible, about praying with your spouse, about being brutally honest. Of course, there's a lot more on your podcast, in your course, in your book. So I encourage everybody to get it. Here's my critical question, Ryan. Is it on Audible yet?
It is not. We're working on that as we speak. The team's probably, let's see, what is it, the end of June? I would say by the end of July, it will be on Audible. And so, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, and Ryan, thank you for your service. I don't think we say that enough. And I know that both grew you and caused destruction for you. And so if I may, can I pray over you before we leave?
Oh, please. Absolutely. Thank you.
Lord, thank you for this opportunity to speak with Ryan. Thank you for all that he has walked through to be able to be this voice for you. Thank you for this organization and podcast that he has built. And thank you, Lord, for his vulnerability. As we talked before, we as a society do not allow men to fall off their shining white knight horses. In fact, we're disappointed when they do, but that's where the growth happens. And Lord, thank you for this commitment to honesty, to strength, that is his weakness that he brings to you and that you can strengthen, Lord. I pray over all the people that will listen to this, and all of the people that Ryan touches with his speaking, his podcast, his coaching, Lord. Bless that tremendously and bring him through this and his family through this in a way that nobody has written before and nobody has been able to see. And for all those families listening, I pray the blessing that God has locked us all up in disobedience so that he can show mercy to all of us. It is never too late for you, your family, your loved one. Lord, thank you for this time and opportunity. Amen. Thank you, Ryan. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thanks so much for tuning into the Faith Over Addiction podcast. Remember, nothing changes until something changes. Today is your day to step out in faith and make a difference. You are a daughter of the King, a woman who can spark incredible ripple effects of hope and healing, not just in your own life, but in your family, your community, and God's kingdom. If this episode encouraged you, bless someone else by sharing it. Send it to a friend who needs a little hope, or post it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to hear what resonated most with you. And hey, if you're ready to reclaim your God-given identity and create a safe, loving space for yourself and those you care about, let's talk. Book a quick call with me today, and I'd love to hear your story and help you take the next step. Oh, and don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts, search for Faith Over Addiction, and leave me a review. Your feedback not only makes my day, but helps other women find this podcast and step into freedom too. You are strong, you are loved, and the joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Until next time, keep walking boldly into the life God has for you.